In 1915, the ship became trapped in Antarctic ice and was slowly crushed to pieces over the course of 9 months. 28 men were stranded, over 1,000 miles from the nearest human settlement, with no radio, no rescue plan, and winter closing in. Every single one of them survived. This is the true story of Ernest Shackleton and the Endurance, still considered one of the greatest survival stories in human history. In August 1914, Ernest Shackleton set sail from England aboard a ship named Endurance with an ambitious goal to become the first person to cross the entire continent of Antarctica on foot. He'd already tried twice before to reach the South Pole and failed. This time, the plan was different and far more dangerous. 27 men, dozens of sled dogs, and even a ship's cat set off toward the most hostile environment on Earth with almost no idea what they were about to face. By January 1915, Endurance had pushed deep into the Weddell Sea when the pack ice closed in around her and locked the ship in place completely. What was supposed to be a brief delay turned into months. The crew waited and waited as the ice slowly tightened its grip. By October, the pressure became too much. The wooden hull began to crack and splinter under the weight of the ice, and Shackleton gave the order every explorer: dreads, abandon ship. The crew moved onto the ice itself, setting up camp beside the dying ship, salvaging what supplies they could. For weeks, Endurance remained visible, slowly breaking apart. On November 21st, 1915, she finally gave way completely and sank beneath the frozen sea. The men now stood on a drifting sheet of ice, over 1,000 miles from the nearest outpost of civilization, with no ship, no radio, and no way to call for help. For nearly 5 months, the crew drifted on the ice itself, camp after camp, as the flow slowly carried them wherever the ocean currents pushed it. They hunted seals and penguins for food, rationed what little they had left, and somehow kept their spirits up, even celebrating holidays with whatever small comforts they could manage. Shackleton's leadership became legendary during this period. He kept the men focused, organized, and remarkably, largely optimistic, even as their situation grew more desperate by the week. By April 1916, the ice floe beneath them finally began to break apart. With solid ground nowhere near, Shackleton ordered the men into 3 small lifeboats they'd salvaged from Endurance. For 5 brutal days, they rowed and sailed through freezing, storm-tossed seas before finally reaching Elephant Island. It was the first solid ground any of them had stood on in nearly 500 days, but Elephant Island was remote, uninhabited, and completely outside any shipping route. No one was coming to look for them there. Realizing no rescue would ever find them on Elephant Island, Shackleton made a decision that still stuns historians today. He chose 5 men to join him on the James Caird, a lifeboat only 22.5 feet long, and set out across 800 miles of the most violent ocean on Earth, aiming for a whaling station on South Georgia Island. For 17 days, they battled hurricane-force winds and towering waves in a boat barely bigger than a family car, navigating with nothing but a sextant and extraordinary skill. Against every conceivable odd, they made it. But landing on South Georgia wasn't the end. The whaling station was on the opposite side of the island, across mountains and glaciers that had never once been crossed by any human being. With no proper climbing equipment, Shackleton and 2 of his men trekked 36 hours straight, without stopping to rest, over ice fields and jagged peaks, thousands of feet high. And they finally stumbled into the whaling station at Stromness, exhausted and unrecognizable. The first people they met could hardly believe they were looking at living men. Even after reaching help, Shackleton refused to rest until every one of his men was safe. It took 4 separate attempts across nearly 4 months, battling pack ice again and again, before a borrowed Chilean ship named the Yelcho finally broke through to Elephant Island in August 1916. All 22 men who'd waited there survived nearly 2 years after the expedition had first set sail. In total, Every single member of the Endurance crew made it home alive, an outcome almost no one would have predicted. The Endurance expedition never achieved its original goal. Shackleton never crossed Antarctica. But what his crew survived instead became something far more remarkable. A story still studied today in leadership courses and survival guides alike. In 2022, over a century later, researchers finally located the wreck of Endurance, nearly 10,000 feet deep at the bottom of the Weddell Sea, perfectly preserved in the freezing dark. Sometimes, the mission that fails is the one that becomes truly unforgettable.